go. All right, we are back at Mountain West Media Day, straight from the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, inside Circa Resort and Casino. We got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors in the building. We got Fele Ashlock. We got Jemai Otis. Fellas, how we doing? Pick up the mic. This is the floor is yours.
Let go, let go. Hey, man, it's amazing, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, bless.
All right, so I'd say Hawaii, kind of I would say a nice little darling here in the Mountain West this year. At least at least from us media folks, there's a lot. I'd say there's some sneaky good buzz with you guys this year. As far as like the preseason polls, all of us media guys fall in love with it. But like, look, I think you guys got a chance to do some big things this year. You guys run your run and shoot offense, very high powered, and
Yes,
year 4 with Timmy Chang, there was a lot of optimism about you guys. Talk to me about you on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes, sir.
Just what's in store for this team, because you guys got a lot of guys back.
No, exactly like you just said. We came back with a lot of guys, returned a lot of guys, and a lot of veteran guys too. So it's a very experienced offense, a very experienced collective, a group of guys. We all just know each other. Got to know each other very well through these 3 years, 4 years. Being with, you can call it, these boys my brothers, man. So it's an amazing time, especially on the offensive side. Just collectively being together, gelling together, and especially with the quarterback leaving and Micah stepping up, and then some some 2 receivers leaving, and then replacing those 2. Just how we attacked and brought in those new guys, bring them in and bringing them with love, just the Hawaii way, showing aloha. So that's really what it is, and it's been amazing, especially with all the group of guys, offense and defense. So offensively, we're gonna get after it. We're gonna go dominate. That's really the biggest thing, and just clean up the mental errors that we had last year. To get us put us in the hole sometimes. So from the offensive side, we're gonna do amazing.
Yeah, for Jemai, you guys defensively, I mean, you guys bring some pieces back as well. I mean, overall, I'd say you guys got a lot of roster continuity, which in today's day in college athletics, I feel like is so important. Talk to me, just about having some familiar guys within the room. It's like it's one of those things, like you don't have to build new relationships with guys. You do in a sense, but defensively, just talk to me about your unit and just the optimism for the 2025 season.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing is just relationship wise. This defense is real bought in. Since day one, since I came in, we've been close as a brotherhood. So I think just building, understanding what we liked and understanding what we we're really good in, it really helps us. And I think going into this year, it's just the maturity of the defense. We've been through a lot of games. We've been through ups and downs, a lot of wins, a lot of losses. So now we know what to expect, what to do in certain situations. But as far as the room goes, I feel confident being on the field with everybody out there. Just having the point to where I can look back and I can know how Peter plays. I can know how Nahe plays. Looking beside me, my brother Jalen Smith. I mean, he plays fast. Elijah Palmer right next to me. I mean, that guy is just technical, from the sound to man to coverage and even, in the box as well. So just having that support up front too as well. My guys, without my D-line, I wouldn't be the player I am. So I just the comfort I have being on the field with all those guys, having that relationship, it really makes a difference.
For you guys being returners, you guys are kind of used to playing that quote unquote week 0 game.
Yeah.
The early game where you guys, there's a lot of eyes watching you, and you guys
Right.
kind of have another one of those games this year versus Stanford. You host them on the island. Do you like those? Do you like getting that extra week of Yeah,
Of course, man.
yeah, you
Hey.
like that, and especially a high leverage opponent like Stanford too. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You get to host them on the island.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah,
nothing
it's
new for you
everything
guys.
We could have, we've ever won. We get to start a week earlier than everybody. Give an insight of what we can bring to everybody that's watching us that night. So it's amazing, man. Especially for us to go out there and just play an opponent like Stanford. And for it to be a great battle that I know is going to be into. So we're confident. We're confident and really, really excited for us to go out there. It's a God-given blessing to go out there and play against them in week 0 too as well, with all eyes on us. So it's amazing. It's just hopefully we can give them a same game like I did at Vandy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So week 0 is like, I loved it, man. I love week 0. I always get to love playing early, and it's a great start. It's a great feeling.
Just man, like for you guys, the whether it's the week 0 stuff or sometimes you kind of just the non-conference schedule. You guys are flying all over the place. I feel like people got to come to you guys, but when you guys are making a road trip, you guys are leaving the island. I'm just curious. Maybe by like week 10, does that kind of catch up to you guys a little bit? You're like, man, like we gotta leave the island again, or is it just like one of those things like, okay, you're used to like at least a 5-hour road trip at and maybe you guys embrace it. It's like a special bonding moment for you guys, or what is that? What is that process for you guys?
For sure. I say earlier on, that was kind of the mindset of just flying, to away games and 5 hours this way, maybe another 8 hours that way. It did get kind of overwhelming at first, when I first came in as a freshman, but now I feel like it's just bonding, honestly. Like we look at it as like road trips. Like we see a away game far away. Okay, we know it's going to be a fun ride, Yeah. Make some memories. And that's all it is. And we really take to heart, just quality time with the team, with the coaches too. And I feel like that's why we really are the team we are this year. And we hope a lot of people will see that, just how good we band together. So those away games, I mean, it could sound long, but we used to it. We just love to spend time with each other.
You hinted on the quarterback and Micah. I mean, this guy really tore it up in that final game versus New Mexico. I mean, talk to me about the confidence that you have in him and that he can navigate this offense to how he did versus the Lobos last year, because I know you guys were out there trying to play spoiler for that Lobo team that was trying to get bowl eligibility.
Exactly.
And you guys did that. So talk to me about this, and are we going to see more of that this season with you featured in that?
I think it's more of the confidence he gives me, man. Just the player as him, like of him being the person he is. He's just a gamer, man. I like I told everybody else, he's a well-rounded person. He knows when to switch it on and off. Off the field, he's an amazing person. He sits there. We go out to dinner sometimes. He's the first one to try to pay the bill. You know what I mean? Just want to be the first guy to do things for other people. So that's one thing that as a quarterback, guys tend to fall. Fall to that. We all love that. It's a great synergy thing, especially when it's coming from the captain of your football team. So it's a great thing that we both get to experience and just see from him, because it's just on Saturdays we know what it is. He turns on that switch where it's a dog. He turns into that guy where he's vocal. He's vocal about everything. So you want to sit there and listen to him, and then go and put into action what he's saying, and the belief that he has in us. The belief that we have in him. It all goes all hand in hand. So it's amazing. He's gonna crush it this year, like all of us is, and we're excited. We're excited.
One word to describe your head coach, Timmy Chang. I know that's probably a lot.
Dog.
Dog, yeah. Shoot. Swagger.
He's got
and swag.
He's got the swag on the island.
Yeah, and not even like clothes wide, like swag how he hold himself. What I mean? Like, he carry himself. Like he got that swag where it's just a confident base in him. He walks with a little sway. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He got a limp in it. He got
there
walking.
You go.
So it's
hey,
smooth.
well, he's got a tight relationship with San Jose State's head coach Ken Niumatalolo.
Yeah.
And he's got some ties on the island as well, born and raised out there. And so you already know that those guys they keep it tight. And best of luck this season, fellas.
Yes, thank you so much.
Monitoring the progress.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate you.
you.
There you have it, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Trying to really take a positive step in year 4 under Tim Chang. I mean, like this is a group for for Hawaii, where I mean there's a lot of optimism about them and making a bowl game, and quite honestly, like it's not really far fetched. Like they're a group that can most certainly get there and get it done, and it's just a matter of for them, can they win it? Could the week 0 game to me is the one where if they beat Stanford in what's going to be like a coin flip game, that could determine the trajectory of their season, because look, they played Stanford, or they had the tough game versus UCLA last year, and they felt like they they kind of just let the game go, and it's one of those games where I feel like for the Stanford matchup where it could really change things, even though that it's week 0. It could. We'll see how it goes on that end for the Rainbow Warriors in that aspect. But look, Fele Ashlock is going to be, I think, one of the better wide receivers in the Mountain West this year. I think he's the real deal. You see him speaking with confidence. Like, that's a guy that, I mean, that he's got belief in everybody in the room, and he's gonna. I think he's gonna put up some massive numbers. It helps that he's playing in a really prolific offense. Similar to the San Jose State, because the spread and shred and the run and shoot kind of have those same concepts, if you will. So we'll see what they look like, but man, they are a very intriguing bunch because with their quarterback and Micah Alafado, they could really do some damage there, and they could just simply outscore some teams. So I'm very excited to see what they're up against, and uh, I mean they got a lot of those coin flip games on the schedule where you know man, if they just win that one close game, and all of a sudden they're flirting with 5, 6, 7 wins on the season. So very excited to see what they have to offer. We're just getting back into the afternoon session of Mountain West Media Days. We're gonna actually the stream shut down the first stream, so we had a second one that we had to reignite. We're gonna go ahead and pump that out on all the socials. So we're gonna actually take a short, I would say like 2 minute break right now, and then when we come back, we'll have some more analysis, some breakdowns, some schedules. We'll go over the preseason poll leaderboard because we haven't really touched on that yet. Believe it or not, we've talked about Boise State as the favorites, San Jose State being in third, UNLV in second, but we really haven't touched on the bottom because there's somebody has to finish last and somebody has to finish towards the bottom of the total poll. So we're gonna maybe contradict, maybe make a case for somebody that should be higher, should be lower, whatever the case may be. We're gonna get critical here, so we'll be right back. 2 minute intermission here at Mountain West Media Days. San Diego State coming up. We are back at Mountain West Media Days here live from Las Vegas. We got the San Diego State Aztecs ready to rock and roll here at the booth. We got Ross Ulugali Masuli. Did I get that right?
Close.
Ulugalu Masuli. And then we got Trey White.
Yes, sir.
How we doing, guys?
Good.
Long day, but we're moving along.
Close to the end. So
Yeah.
not bad.
Fair enough. Well, look, San Diego State, another intriguing team. I feel like for you guys, didn't last year, not the season you guys
Right,
probably
of course.
envisioned,
Right.
but you guys, I feel like you guys have a chance to really be maybe the surprise of the league this year. Based on the preseason polls and that within that nature, as a defensive guy yourself, Trey, Mountain West Defensive Preseason Player of the Year. I know that don't mean much to you. It means everything to us media guys.
Yeah.
But just talk to me about the work ethic. Heading into another season, monster season for you last year. But just talk to me about the mindset heading into the 2025 season.
Yeah. For me, a big thing is like I don't want to get complacent. Just because I had a good season last year doesn't mean anything. I'm not where I want to be right now, and I still got to work hard to improve myself and my team to get to the place that we want to be, and that's Mountain West Championship, college football playoff, all that. So we got big goals, but all this preseason stuff doesn't mean anything to us. Even if we were ranked number one, we still wouldn't care. We still got work to do. So
for sure, Ross, for you guys as an offense, with your head coach, he likes to run the up tempo stuff, and you guys got a plethora of new quarterbacks this year. Just overall, I know you guys want the offense to be better this year. Just talk to me about some of the new pieces. What are you excited about? Some new quarterbacks in the room.
Yeah.
Just overall, how we feeling to get this thing to kick things into gear here with year 2 under Sean Lewis.
Yeah, I feel great about going into this season. I feel great about the spring ball that we had. I'm feeling great about the summer that we're having. I'm feeling good about going into this fall camp, bringing some guys in, bringing a few old linemen in that, we're going to have starters. We're going to have guys that could just jump in and not skip a beat. It's not even going to phase them. Having a third guy or a sixth lineman come in, seventh lineman come in, and nothing's going to change. And bringing in like Abayomi, Dallas, Kalen, those guys bringing in some tackles too. So it looks real good on the O-line as well as the quarterback situation. I mean, I trust both quarterbacks with my life. They're both either way, they're both great leaders in the backfield. Whoever gets the spot gets the spot. But either way, I trust both of them behind me, especially adding in those wide receivers and some running backs. I feel like we have a good threat going on in the offense.
Yeah, for you guys defensively, you guys bring some key players back. Tana Latuli, number 1 tackler last year. I mean, absolute beast for you guys. Just talk to me about for you on the line of scrimmage, what he does behind you. Just talk to me. Obviously you guys are some upperclassmen now. Taking on a leadership role, but what have you guys done to just rally the troops here and maybe instill some belief in the new guys that have stepped in.
right, yeah. So me and Tano have known each other since we're like 5 years old. So we got that great chemistry. We're roommates. Me, Tano, and Chris Johnson were all roommates. So I feel like us three as the leaders of the defense, we got to get all those guys rallied every single game and let them know what the standard is, because the standard for defense for Aztec football has been great throughout all these years, and we can't let it slip. So we just got to uphold that standard and expect it out of everybody else, and it starts with us.
Sean Lewis, your head coach entering year 2. One word to describe him and what he brings to your team.
One word to describe him: real.
Real. I like that. No one's thrown that one out yet. Ross.
Electric.
Like
that.
I like that.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, those are 2 that they haven't thrown out. How about for you guys, underrated player that maybe on offense and defense that maybe a lot of fans in the league or just people watching Aztec football don't really know about just yet that are going to know about this season?
For defense, I would probably say Josiah Cox or Owen Chambliss for sure.
Offense, man, I could say any one of those running backs really, and then say Donovan, wide receiver. feel like it's gonna surprise a lot of people too.
For sure. Talk to me, you guys. We've gotten a lot of I was talking with the Fresno guys, just about the year 2 of the college football video game. Obviously, a lot of guys, they just reinstalled this thing. It's been reignited. Talk to me about having the being in this thing year 2, and I guess the $1 million question, I guess, is your overall too high or too low, or is there something that you're looking for for EA to boost a little bit more this year?
Yeah, my overalls are 91, and I feel like
damn good.
it's solid. Definitely would like it to be higher, but it is what it is. But the game's fun. I like playing it. It's cool to see it come back after so long. And that's a game I grew up playing, NCAA 14. So that was one of my games. So it's cool to finally actually be in a video game. It's still kind of surreal. So it's really cool.
I think I'm a 81. I think.
Yeah, you're pretty high.
Yeah, I think I'm or 83, something like that. I'm 81 or 83, and this is pretty low, but I'm, I enjoy the game. I'm not a big gaming guy, but I got it, so I'm gonna play it. So I'm gonna play it.
Something to tell the future generations, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. Hey, well, best of luck this season.
Thank you.
San Diego State playing the games at the Snapper. So that should be a whole lot of fun. Year 2 under Sean Lewis, fellas. Thanks for the time.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Never heard that nickname.
Nah, you like that one? Go throw that one to the boys in the locker room. There you go. San Diego State Aztecs. Great stuff. Hey, they like the Snapper nickname. That was pretty cool. Look, we got San Jose State up on deck. We see them floating around. We're not there yet, but they're gonna be coming around. Look, San Diego State is one of these teams this year where they're not going to get a whole lot of credit for what they're doing, but man, to me they're like a massive wild card in the Mountain West because we look at the preseason polls. Look, Sean Lewis. This is a guy, very offensive minded, hasn't really gotten too many results where he's been. I mean, he had the 5 years at Kent State. He went 24-31. You look at the record, you're like, okay. But his best year was year 2 when he went 7-6. So if that's a positive sign you want to hang your hat on, for all those in the Mesa, that is something. Now, the quarterback position is going to be something something to monitor because you heard Ross at the offensive lineman. He said, I trust both guys. This is clearly an open competition for QB1 this year. So I'm very intrigued to see that. They got Jaden Denegal from Michigan. That is extremely small sample size as far as body of work this year. Or as far as his collegiate career, that is 5 career snaps, 5. And that came in 2023 versus Michigan in a garbage time game. So we really don't know too much about him. Bert Emanuel is pretty intriguing. He's a Central Michigan transfer. Got some time, in the MAC conference with the Chippewas. So that is a guy from his Central Michigan playing days. Dual threat quarterback. This kid can run. So, I think this is gonna be a job that's wide open at QB1. We'll see what happens for San Diego State in that regard. But you hear Ross talk about the running backs. I like both running backs, Lucky Sutton and Cam Davis. They had some other guys that transferred out, and they were running wild in some of their games. Now, here's the thing: you got to take year 1 in a new coaching era with a grain of salt, because you got with San Diego State and Sean Lewis, he had 3 wins last year: wins at Wyoming, East Texas A&M, and Hawaii. Like that, those are not great wins. It's especially the FCS win. So they gotta most certainly clean that up. They got some games on the schedule that are most certainly winnable, but they gotta win some games at Snapdragon Stadium. They just built that thing. You know, they got a the NWSL team out there now. So they got to fill that place up. And you see what the basketball programs bring in, at Viejas Arena, and how much they've rallied. San Diego State and New Mexico are kind of almost in the same situation, if you will. The basketball program is elite, and the fans show out. It's just for some reason, over the past couple of years. Well, for New Mexico, a whole lot longer, but for San Diego State, as of late, since they made that Mountain West championship, run, and we're talking post 2020, so we're talking 2021, where they had that run where, they were, they just weren't getting butts and seats. So that's got to change for them. I've heard, just from Snapdragon Stadium, like that, there's not a whole lot of shade in the building and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll see what happens there. As we got San Jose State coming in, we got Walker Eget, we got Daniela Latu. Fellas, grab the mic. Mic's hot, and we're ready. We're ready to roll. As hey, look, these are the guys we've been waiting for.
Oh my God, yay!
So San Jose State, we got quarterback Walker Eget, we got linebacker Daniela Latu. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Good.
Great to be here.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So, man, I feel like you've talked to a bunch of guys this year, and look, there's a whole lot of buzz with the Spartans this year. Year 2 with Coach Ken, you guys are picked 3rd in the preseason polls. I mean, everyone, all the media people will say, hey, the schedule lines up nice for you guys, but you still got to go play the games. I mean, you and I haven't talked.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Yeah.
Since last season. So I mean, what has there really been anything that's changed for you guys, or has it just been really everybody buying in, and to me just roster continuity, a lot of guys coming back?
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. I'll speak on the offensive side of it. A lot of guys coming back, especially the O-line. A lot of receivers that have been in the system now and are being developed, and now really gaining that edge to know what they're supposed to be doing versus coverages. And yeah, the spread and shred this year is going to be really, really fun. It's going to be really cool to see. It's just really, really, enlightening to see guys are buying in. I feel like I could speak on that for the whole team, coming together as a brotherhood, as a culture. And, I mean, we talk about this spread and shred, but we also talk about how the defense was number 2 in the nation in takeaways. And now I'll hand it over to Daniela for that one.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, because Daniela, everyone you've probably been hearing all day, like, this offense is gonna shred, but like I've been telling people, like, just from like your guys' end, like, your defense won some games last year at Oregon State, at Air Force. You guys didn't get a whole lot of credit. Derek Odom's a rare breed. Year 9 as defensive coordinator, that's hard to come by. Just talk to me, with you and Jordan Pollard and some other guys coming back, what's the level of excitement for you, the unit as a whole, and for what could be a historic season in San Jose?
Yeah, I think with everybody coming back, our biggest goal is just making sure everybody's on the same page as far as knowing how we play, our standard, and obviously where we want to be at the end of the season. I think allowing those younger guys to buy in will help the older guys, take the load off our shoulders and kind of distribute it out evenly. But I think, the whole defense now is really bought into Coach Dio's defense. We know what we can accomplish with, how he runs his defense. So we're excited this season. All the leaders are excited to, get the young guys caught up to speed, and hopefully we'll showcase that this season.
I mean, when you lose a guy like Sowani Toia, that's a big loss. So I think, maybe from an outsider looking in, and maybe folks around the league are probably thinking, okay, who's going to step on that defensive line? Justin Stearns has been a guy, on the defensive line that I've chatted with, and he's ready to take the next step. Has there been some guys on the defensive line in particular that are kind of standing out that maybe didn't get the opportunity that they did last year, that maybe could translate to something special this year?
Yeah, I think our D-line room is probably the deepest room in our defense. There's a lot of guys, and I think for for the leaders of that group, just like Justin Stearns, like Quincy Liquio and Ngafafaga, I think they'll be crucial in leading that group. They're all really close. They all bring something different to the table, and I'm excited what they have to offer as a defensive line unit and how Coach Al will have them prepare for the season.
Floyd Chalk's getting a whole lot of buzz. I mean, between Floyd, Jabari Bates, and we saw Radcliffe, spark up in the Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those tricky things that I feel like with the fan base, because I feel like the fan base, it's like, how come the Spartans don't run the ball a little bit more, given the backs, but I think it's one thing with the scheme and such, but 130th in rushing, last year, and you guys got those backs. Are you Coach Ken maybe going to run the ball a little bit more this year?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing and just to have an explosive, passing game is we got to have a good run game. And I think especially with the O-line coming back, we're going to see a lot more, big time explosive run plays. And people forget, like, when all else fails, like all three of those running backs are able to make guys miss. The first guy missed at least every single time. So it's great to see that, know that, trust that. And I think we're going to see a lot more from the run game this year. It's going to be a great little, back and forth, being able to air it out as well as handing it off.
How about you catching a ball in the end zone? Have you thrown that out to Coach Dutch yet?
I haven't thrown it out to him, but
okay,
that's not the most of my concerns.
Okay,
right now,
you're worried about scoring touchdowns.
Just helping out.
There you go. Okay, that has not gotten thrown out there yet. Defensively, you guys brought in two corners. Late ads. A lot of Spartan fans haven't really seen them yet. It was post spring, so only you guys have really gotten a close eyes on what they've meant. Harvey and Dansby leave. What have those two guys brought in the secondary where you're like, wow, might not be too much of a drop off.
Yeah, the two corners you brought in, Caleb Presley and Malachi Crawford, they've been little sponges. They've been absorbing the defense and how we run things. Just trying to get them caught up to speed. Both of them late, like you said, late ads. So the biggest thing is trying to get them into their playbooks. Get them stuck with their coach, with Coach Burns. Make sure they get caught up to speed. So then that way, once fall camp comes, they get everything flowing. But I'm excited for them. They've been at Power 5 programs, and I'm excited to see what they provide for us on the defense side.
College football video game year 2. We saw. I think Spartan Nation saw the footage. Of you playing it with Revis. Can we just agree on something that Revis is a better safety, and maybe not the greatest video gamer for what he was doing on that stuff.
Definitely
like interceptions and laterals and such.
He's more of an actual gamer on the field than he is in the room, for sure.
How big of a personality is that guy? Yeah,
he's
out there.
Yeah, he's a fun dude to hang around, for sure. He's always optimistic, always positive. Someone who's always like, no matter what, always having the light at the end of the tunnel. If you ever feel like it's getting tough, like he's someone that bring you up and making sure that we're all to the same standard, and we got to keep going.
Love it. Walker Egan, Daniela Latu. We'll be talking down the road, most definitely. Thanks for the time here in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Yes, appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah.
All right. There you have it. Thank you. Got San Jose State, Walker Egan, Daniela Latu. We had to get the insight on Caleb Presley and Malachi Crawford, because like I said, that was an extremely late ad post spring, from the portal, where you get those two guys. I think they came from Washington and USC, I believe. Kind of just flying under the radar a little bit, but maybe there was a little bit worried about the defensive backs in that area, where you're thinking like, okay, DJ Harvey makes a massive impact play at Oregon State and Corvallis last year. Dansby, he had a 98-yard pick six 2 years ago versus Fresno State. He definitely picked things up, but where's the production going to come from? Like, you were going to throw two inexperienced guys, but now that's not. I would say maybe that's not an issue as much anymore. Now you get those guys, and Nella said it. They've been sponges. So that's definitely a good sign to hear from the secondary as far as that's concerned at SJSU. But Walker's not too concerned about the trick plays. He's got the all business approach here in Las Vegas. Which was maybe a good sign to see, for Spartan Nation. The ground attack is something to watch. It could be something special. It was 130th in rushing last year. I'd imagine that they're going to run the ball a whole lot more. And I know the fan base has been asking for that. Like, man, we got Floyd Chalk. Very casually had double-digit touchdowns, like nearly 800 rushing yards. Like, he put on a show last year. And the fact that okay, like what's going on here? Radcliffe, I mean, for him only being a freshman, has really, for a third string back, he's kind of learned from the other guys. Like, they got something there. Jabari Bates is a weapon, from a pass catching standpoint in the backfield. Like, they got some versatility with the running backs. And Radcliffe, that's going to be a guy where on 4th and 1 and you're on the goal line and you need an angry run right up the gut. That's your guy. So they got guys in the backfield that got their own strengths in certain situations on certain downs and distances. And I think that's what Spartan Nation is going to see this year is, the ground attack in certain spots really take over. And, we saw that at times, but, it was there was a game at Washington State last year, where the game was a shootout. Things were getting out of control, and the game was on CW, and everyone's watching on double overtime. In that situation when the Spartans were up 10 points, I believe it was, everyone's thinking, okay, maybe use some clock, run the ball. But Coach Stutzman has that aggressive mindset. So, we'll see if they play clock a little bit more. I think, we'll talk to Coach Ken tomorrow, but this is the beauty of being exposed to tons of different situations. Like, SJSU was in a low-scoring grudge match versus Air Force, and they won the game. They won a low-scoring game at Corvallis in Oregon and won the game. They were in a shootout versus Washington State, and that's a game that they want to certainly get back. Emmett Brown played his heart out in that double overtime affair, but at the same time, I think SJSU maybe learned their lessons from the harsh play calling versus Boise State. I don't think that's far-fetched. I mean, well, Coach Ken, he's still sick to his stomach about that Boise State decision. Being up 2 touchdowns and going for the jugular there. Should have just took the 3 points and the field goal to go up 3 possessions in the second quarter. So I think this is a team where they got engulfed into tons of different situations last year, and some of the close results didn't go their way, but I think those are going to be learning lessons that maybe the Spartans take into account this year. I mean, you would certainly hope so. There's no doubt that there's going to be no quarterback drama this year. Like, that is 100% solidified, which you could very well. There's no argument that it was a distraction last year. Like, you had Emmett Brown and Walker Eget, fighting for QB1 job, during spring camp. And that was the overarching headline all spring long, all summer long, and pretty much up until week 1 for Sac State last year. Like, who is starting at quarterback? Now you can flush all that out because Walker Eget is the guy. He's been taking the first team reps in spring. Coach Ken has made that evident since, since signing day, a few weeks after Hawaii. Like, this is Walker's team, and it's a matter of how far can he take it. 5th in passing offense. They were like top 50 overall in offense despite the poor rushing numbers. This is a team. Colby Dan in our morning session at Mountain West Media Days was talking just about it. The schedule. It's just chalked up so pretty where, the furthest road trip is, Austin, Texas or Utah State. Now the Wyoming and Utah State road trip is tricky because you're going to be out there in the altitude. You're going to have to go to Laramie first, and then you're going to have to go to, Utah State and Logan in the middle of nowhere. Now you get the Wyoming game on a Saturday. You get the Utah State game 6 days later. So that could be very interesting as far as that is concerned. as far as the order and the spot and the situation there. But you can argue 1-1, 2-0, whatever you want. There, they're going to still go play the games, and altitude, weather, that's all going to be taken to a fact. And does that worry? Is that maybe a little worrisome from the scheme aspect of it? Like, hey, if you're playing a cold weather and it's snowing in Logan, Utah, can maybe the pass attack, travel, and all of a sudden you're relying on a ground attack, as with getting over 40 yards of carry or whatever it may be. So there's a bunch of different situations, like we said, that the Spartans are gonna have to deal with. But there's no doubt, that if you take care of Central Michigan week 1, Central Michigan has got Matt Drinkle, first-year head coach. San Jose State's got 6 first-year head coaches this year that they go up against. Like that's a big-time advantage. The Air Force game is going to be tough, like middle of the year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Troy Calhoun and Coach Ken know each other like in the back of their hand. They know everything that's coming. Coach Calhoun knows Coach Ken's tendencies, and vice versa. So an Air Force and San Jose State over the past couple of years have played some really tight games. Even when Air Force came into San Jose 2 years ago, that was a game that was hanging around, and then things kind of got away with them. In the third quarter, the dominance of the Air Force ground attack and the triple option and the ball control, could really matter. So, the Air Force game is always tricky. The Wyoming Utah State road trip will be the one that everyone's keeping an eye on. The Texas game is a great learning opportunity for SJSU, where you'll probably be like a 35-point underdog in Austin, Texas. You'll be going up against Arch Manning. It's one of those a barometer reality check type games where, hey, this is a top 5 team in America, depending on the Ohio State result in week 1. And you got a chance to go into a hostile environment with over 80,000 people in attendance to see what you're all about. And San Jose State could definitely live up to the task. They played at Auburn 3-4 years ago, and the game was like a 1-possession battle in like the fourth quarter. So past Spartan rosters have been able to live up to the task and make it a game in the fourth. The rushing defense. That's why we asked Nella about the rushing defense, and No Fofana's definitely on the defensive line getting a lot of recognition. He made a first-team All-Mountain West list, or just the All-Mountain West defensive team, that is, along with Jordan Pollard. So those guys getting recognized by the league for what should be good years there. Quincy Licchio, this guy on the defensive line, played very few games last year. He had an early season injury, and that's when the whole John Ward emergence came out of nowhere. So Licchio's going to be a big piece coming off the edge. They got No Fofana up the middle, basically to replace the Sawani Toia replacement, basically. And we're going to see who the Spartans plug and play everywhere else. But when you got Nella and Pollard on the back end, that's a group that's going to be pretty compelling. So, defensively, Coach Odom will have them ready. They'll probably be one of those games where, it's 17-10 in the fourth quarter, and the defense is playing their hearts out, and the offense is struggling, and it's just a matter of, can the defense go make plays? You might have a couple of those games this year. It might be on the road, might be in San Jose. So, that's always interesting to monitor. But look, we talked about it, with Jeff Konya earlier this morning, that San Jose State's football program in a really good spot. And with the expansion of the CFP, I mean, you heard Colby Dant. Me and him were talking offline. Like, he's got him as the college football playoff darling. So it's very interesting. So. The San Jose State, man, they're getting a whole lot of buzz, and they're getting a whole lot of love in that regard. So it's just a matter of, can those games translate, which will obviously, that's what ultimately things come down to. Nick Nash, leaving. look, the wide receiver position, I don't think is going to have any drop off. Quite honestly, this the spread and shred offense is meant for dudes to eat. That's why you see this wide receiver room. It could go 8 wide receivers deep, and I think Leland Smith will probably. I don't want to say he's probably going to be your wide receiver one this year. Danny Scudero is going to be your deep ball guy, and then it's just going to be everybody else trying to eat. Matthew Coleman's still on this roster, folks, and that was a guy that absolutely went berserk, and in the spread and shred without Nick Nash. So I think it's very compelling here what San Jose State from a wide receiver standpoint what they have. They're very deep. As much as Spartan Nation's gonna miss Nick Nash and Justin Lockhart for what they did, especially the swagger of Nick Nash. You're gonna have plenty of weaponry, to really replace that, and I think those guys have a chance to really replicate. So I don't think the wide receiver position is going to have a whole lot of drop off. Walker talked about the offensive line. You know, roster continuity is big in today's day of college athletics. So, when you got 4 guys returning on the line, and Pasetti Lapahu was probably the most consistent of the on the offensive line. Hudson Mesa was getting moved around. Joseph Harbert came in the second half. There were some guys in the offensive line where it was almost like just plugging and playing and trying to figure things out and figure it out on the fly. Like you know I think that was a question mark for SJSU, the O line, especially week one, with all the shenanigans for Sac State with Tyler Chen. But give credit to Tyler Chen. That guy came out and lost a center job, but was still able to do some things, and ultimately was playing at the offensive guard position. So that's a guy where you know he's definitely going out there and won back the job to his credit, and it's just a matter of when this offensive line gets going, when they're gelling, can they stay healthy? And that's obviously you know the underlining issue with any football team and any roster. You could get stacked up good on paper, but some teams hit the injury bug, and we've seen that with some teams over the years, and that sometimes that's just the way things go. But a lot of buzz with the Spartans. We'll be talking with Coach Ken tomorrow, and we'll be definitely picking his brain on the roster once again and all that fun stuff. But we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna have some more player interviews and some more conversations. We'll break down the schedule a little bit more, from the Mountain West schedule that is, and maybe throw out some intriguing non-conference games as well. Just overall in college football, I definitely got a short list of them, and featuring some Mountain West teams as well. So stay tuned for all of that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to day one of Mountain West Media Days live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick Urias here, conducting some interviews here. We got 3 more teams on schedule. Coming up in about 10 minutes are the UNLV Running Rebels. We'll have Utah State along with the Wyoming Cowboys players. UNLV will have D'Angelo Irvin Jr. and Jake Pope. They will be coming up at around 2:30. But we're here. We're back after a little brief hiatus. Long stretch of in this afternoon session of just in between interviews. And hey, look, we said that we were going to come back and we were going to talk some football schedules. Week one, this is the beauty of the non-conference slate, is that I love just paying attention and just watching the obscure matchups. Cage Casey talked about it earlier that he's just so excited to go to South Florida, in the humid. He talked about the crazy experience at Statesboro last year versus Georgia Southern, and it was like 90 degrees and humid, and it was so uncomfortable, and the game was a shootout, and Ashton Genty had like 6 touchdowns and 300 rushing yards. Well, South Florida is one of those teams. San Jose State saw them in the Hawaii Bowl, the quintuple overtime game on Christmas Eve. South Florida is one of those teams where up-tempo, Byron Brown's a really good quarterback from the American Athletic Conference. And, Boise State's going to have to go travel over there. And, that's not a tough place. That's not an easy place to play at. Like, I remember Alabama went in there like maybe a year or two ago, and even they had trouble. Like, that. Now, don't get me wrong, Alabama wasn't the greatest thing in the world 2 years ago offensively, but like, that's when they were still trying to figure out their quarterbacks with Jalen Milroe and such, and they were just rotating a bunch of dudes in. But that South Florida place, that stadium out there, it will get pretty nutty for a team like Boise State that comes in. Everyone knows what Boise did last year in the college football playoff. They were the group of 5 representatives, so that place is going to be going nuts. I would not be shocked at all if that's a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter for Boise State, and they're traveling to South Florida. Boise, I mean, everyone wants to talk about the Notre Dame game, but they got between that South Florida game and the matchup at home versus App State. Like, App State is a really good football program. They've been on the downswing the past couple of years, but that's been a football program that has no doubt a rowdy fan base. With that big old mountain of theirs in their south end zone, where they're basically, they'll mudslide down it, all those crazy drunk college kids. But App State has to go to Boise. I think that Boise is definitely going to take care of them, but that is it's just one of those games that just excites me. App State is a fun brand out in the Sun Belt, and then they got to go to Mountain West, the Mountain West. I would say altitude, and that game's on September 27th. So it won't be too bad in Boise weather-wise, but still, that's just a fun matchup that I have circled. Look, some of these games are kind of like bloodbaths, like they're the quote-unquote paycheck games, like Nevada's at Penn State. That will be kind of rough. New Mexico's at Michigan. What stinks about those games is, like, it's week 1. Like, especially when you got like New Mexico with the first-year head coach, and he's got to go to Ann Arbor, like that. Like, that's just, it's one of these things. Like, man, when you go up, you're gonna go up against the Michigan Wolverines defense, and it's like, are you gonna really learn anything about your team in that game? Like, if you only score like 3 points, like it's just one of those, outside the ordinary. I would say outside the ordinary, but it's one of those matchups where it's just kind of weird, and it just really doesn't benefit, to an extent for a team like New Mexico. I get the whole logistics behind everything and such, but that, to me, that just stinks. A game in week 2 that I have circled, and I think it could be a dangerous game for a Mountain West team that's going to be playing host to an FCS team, and that is Sac State at Nevada. Sac State has been, just came up with all this money for their football and basketball program out of nowhere. They hired Brendan Marion, former UNLV offensive coordinator, as their head coach, the man behind the go-go offense. Very successful in UNLV's the turnaround with their football program the past couple of years. And look, Sac State is all of a sudden got these 4 and 5-star dudes that are committing to them in like year one of this new regime, and they got to go to Reno. Like it's one of those things. Like if Nevada doesn't have if Nevada and Chuba Purdy doesn't have that offense ready, that could be a dangerous game where it's like a field goal game in the fourth quarter. It wouldn't shock me at all. So that's one that I have circled. Maybe like a dangerous game for a Mountain West team that I just really don't like. From a scheduling standpoint, you schedule that stuff, years in advance, your non-conference schedule, like they already got the non-conference schedules, ready to go for the next 4 years. But man, just the timing on that one. And Sac State, they've been notorious for playing all these Mountain West teams early in the season. The past couple of years, they were at San Jose State last year. They were at Fresno last year. And, now they're at Nevada. I think they're somewhere else this year in the Mountain West, but like, Sac State's going to be a top tier team in the Big Sky this year. There's no doubt about it, and they're gonna be one of these. They're gonna be one of those football teams where they're gonna be playing spoiler to some FBS teams, I believe. And then people thought of that in versus San Jose State last year. I think the point spread was like 3 or something like that in San Jose. Like it was something silly. But the Spartans got it done in game 1 of the Coach Ken Niumatalolo era. As far as some other games on the schedule, like this is one that just excites me. UTSA at Colorado State, like that's just a fun one. Like you got Owen McCown, McCown, forgetting the New York Jets former quarterback. It's his son. He's the UTSA quarterback. They're projected to be really good in the American Athletic Conference this year. And then they go to Fort Collins. Like those are the games that, that just excite me. You got UNLV going to Miami, Ohio, of all places. That's a true road game. There's just some games that are out there. Nevada's at Western Kentucky this year. Like it's just some of these games, it's like it amazes me what's on the schedule. Nevada, the Wolfpack have been playing like back-to-back years with like obscure schedules, like the Wolfpack. Let's go through their schedule real quick. At Penn State, home versus Sac State, home versus Middle Tennessee State. Then they're at Western Kentucky, and then the Mountain West slate starts. Like those non-conference games are pretty interesting to the point where, like those are Nevada plays a lot of coin flip non-con games, and man, if if Purdy doesn't have that offense ready, that could be a little worrisome. So those are some. That Nevada schedule does worry me a little bit in that area. I do like the regionality aspect of Cal and San Diego State playing. Cal's kind of in a critical year over there in Berkeley, I would say. They got Ben Branson, former Oregon State quarterback, now commanding things. And you look, San Diego State, they could potentially be a wild card in this thing if the offense materializes. But quite honestly, they got 2 mystery quarterbacks. That they're going to be rolling out very limited snaps. Like I'm very interested to see how that offense, will be commanded and navigated, especially early on in the season, because I believe it could be one of those games where, if San Diego State comes out hot and that offense is humming like the expectations were, then crazy things can happen. But otherwise, I think Cal and San Diego State played last year, and I think it was a bloodbath. Like Cal blew them out, took them out to the woodshed. So, those are some games that are definitely interesting from that aspect of it. And then the conference slate is always fun to monitor. Sure, you'll get some of your one-sided affairs, and I think any team that plays Air Force this year is going to be just in it for and going to get a run for their money, just to the simple fact that Air Force runs the triple option and the contrast of styles are just so ridiculous. That could definitely be something. Like Air Force, especially like when they play at home, like dude. They're one of those teams where when they get behind 2 possessions, they're not a great team. But man, when they're dictating the tempo and the time of possession, all of a sudden your offense is not on the field for like 10 minutes and a quarter. That throws teams off. And third quarter rolls around, it's a one possession game. Things can get squirrely in a hurry. So, those Air Force matchups are always fun. From the aspect of triple option football is not for everybody. I think a lot of people will prefer watching San Jose State or the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors for their up tempo offense. But that's the beauty of the Mountain West is you got an Air Force that team that that plays so drastically different. Where if they show up one day and their defense is playing their heart out, they could go out and do some things. So that should it'll definitely be interesting to see how that pans out. We got the UNLV running Rebels ready to join us. How's it going, guys? Good. Nick, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. We got the
Cara. I was like, we're getting to the part of the day where I'm just like,
everyone's just kind of like we've been spamming the snooze button for like a few hours.
You guys been yapping all day. So much to talk about.
All right, mic is yours, fellas. Should be. Let's see. Let's make sure we got everything going. Yep, we're all good there. All right, so D'Angelo Irvin, Jake Pope, exciting year for UNLV. I mean, a lot of change of scenery, a new head coach in Dan Mullen. Let's start out right there. What is the new head coach in town brought? Because this guy was straight off of ESPN less than a year ago, and here he is, preaching and telling you guys what to do on the football field. So what's the vibe been like for him and for you guys out here with the new regime?
Go ahead, Dila. I think him coming to coach us it's an exciting experience for us guys that are returning, even the guys that are coming in, because he's come from a big conference. He's come from some prestigious schools. So he also, with that, he brings experience and a lot of knowledge with him.
I'll keep it with you here because you've been in the pipeline here for some time now. You learned from some guys like, Jacob De Jesus and plenty of others. And, just talk to me. I know your snaps were a little bit limited last year, but, you were in a heavy wide receiver room. Just talk to me about what did you learn from, some of those upperclassmen and veterans that you're looking to translate towards this year?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think I've learned from guys like Ricky White and Jacob, the biggest thing I learned were, habits on a day-to-day basis, coming in the facility, being early, being on time, taking care of your body, and doing what you need to do on a day-to-day basis.
Jake, for you, you've been around, you go from SEC to Mountain West. So I guess what was so attractive for you, coming out here to Vegas, represented as a UNLV Rebel?
I think, like you said, Coach Mullen, he recruited me out of Florida in high school, and he kind of circled back around for me and called me after he was done doing the commentating stuff. And, he said he got the head job at UNLV, and, I couldn't refuse to go visit. It meant a lot to me that he was reaching out to me. And I think he brings a lot of excitement to this program. I think he's a great players coach, and he's definitely the biggest reason why I'm here, and these guys too. So sure. I love these guys. I love all the staff. I love everything about the university.
Yeah, defensively, I know you guys, been working out some wrinkles. I know your DC kind of a late abrupt, change there. Just how has the change of scenery been? A little bit unprecedented, but still, you guys still got to go out there, deliver out there on the football field. Right. How has the whole transition been there? During the off season and camp and such to get ready for the season there on the defensive side?
It was a little wacky with the coaching changes, so frequently, especially on the defensive side. But as players, you just keep moving forward, and obviously, we trusted Coach Mullen to find another guy to bring in, and he brought us Coach Paul Gunther, and he's the best. I love him. He coaches my position. Great players coach, lets us have input in the defense, and wants us to play fast. And actually, him and Coach Mullen were roommates back in college. So,
how about that?
It's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm really glad he's here.
On the offensive side of the ball, for you, contrast in style. You know, for you as a wide receiver, so heavy on the run last year, and you know, you guys were running all the up tempo stuff, and you know, going quick. It was just a different scheme that nobody else was running. You know, now you got yourself you know, a much more different offense, and you know, a new quarterback that's going to be taking charge. I mean, who knows who it is? We'll all find out in week 1, of course. But you know, just you know, talk to me about, you know, the changes on the offensive side of the ball, and you know, the adjustments on your end in that regard.
Yeah, like you said, the past couple years we've playing for Coach Marion. He's always ran, you know, his own offense, a unique offense that he's had, and you know, it's like with every sport, with every facet of life, you know, you have to be able to adjust. So that's my biggest thing right now, and that's what all the returning guys are kind of getting used to, and even the guys that are coming in, they're having to adjust from their past playbooks and stuff.
For sure. You know, you guys got yourself a schedule. You know, obviously the Mountain West schedule is a gauntlet of its own. But you guys got UCLA. You'll be going to the Rose Bowl. You know, just talk to me about, you know, playing those non-conference game, and you know, playing in some, you know, prestigious stadiums along the way. Obviously, you know, as a college player, and you know, as you guys go throughout your collegiate journeys, you know, I imagine something like that is definitely on your bucket list, huh?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like playing at as many different places as we can. You know, it's always exciting to play in a new place and a new stadium and see what each team or what each environment what each environment holds.
You know, so I think everybody knows your head coach Dan Mullen. You know, they see the personality on TV, but you know, maybe what's a trait of his that maybe, you know, maybe people haven't really seen, that you know, that is maybe that you guys see a lot in the room, that maybe will help you guys for the season upcoming.
I think the fact that he's so open and listen to his players. You know, you have some coaches where you can't even walk in their office without having to schedule an appointment, or you know, but with Coach Mullen, we can walk in his office whenever, go have a conversation with him, and we just know he cares about us other than just being a football player. You know, he cares about us as a person, and I think that means a lot to every guy on the team, and that's why we're right behind him in this whole journey.
Underrated player on the defense that's going to make some noise in the Mountain West this year that maybe a lot of fans don't know about yet.
Ooh, good question. I'm gonna go Trey Fulton on that one.
Okay.
I think that's a young guy at safety that that's next up. That's going to be coming in and you know, on third downs or whatnot, and making some plays.
Offense, who do you got on your side?
For me, I have Caden McGee, a real explosive guy. He's just a big play waiting to happen.
For sure. You know, one more for you on the way out defensively. I imagine a guy like Marcel McDuffie in the linebacker spot.
Oh yeah,
big time leadership voice. You know, has been around the program just like you, but on that side of the ball.
Right.
You know, he's been for the lows, but he's been for the ceiling of what the program can be.
Yep.
You know, what has he brought to people like you that are just here for your first year? You know, maybe to get into the comfort zone.
He's been great. You know, I figured out he was one of the leaders right when I got here. And he's been doing that every day. I've never seen anything different from Marcel. He's the same on the field as he is off the field. He's going to lead you in any way he can, and he's going to be a great player for us this year too. He's going to perform the way I know he's capable of. He's going to make a lot of plays, and I want Marcel to do the best he can possibly do this year and get it, because he's worked really hard, and I've heard stories, heard his past, and you know, he's worked hard to get here. So I'm excited to be playing with Marcel this year.
Best of luck to you guys this year. Thanks for the time. We'll be hopefully talking down the road. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. There you have it. The UNLV running Rebels. 2025 season with first year head coach under Dan Mullen. A lot of buzz with the Rebels as well. I mean, look, they're picked second. I mean, man, this is a team that's won 20 games the past 2 seasons. Prior to that, only won 20 games in a span of 7 years. So, you know, they were in the basement of the Mountain West for so long, and you know, they were one of those teams where, you know, Coach Barry Odom came in, you know, SEC background as well, just like Dan Mullen, and you know, he came in, and you know, Barry Odom from day one just turned that thing around. And, you know, 2 years, you know, I think a lot of the fan base was wanting him to stay for year 3. He bolts to Purdue for, obviously a higher paycheck, chance to get back a Power 5 gig. And, now, like, for UNLV's point of view, you get a guy like Dan Mullen, like straight off of ESPN, like that right there is not too much, not too much of a downgrade in a sense. Like it's not, I wouldn't even say if it's downgraded. If anything, it's just a sideways move in a sense. Like that the Rebels will, in many ways, especially the way the Mountain West is changing, maybe just go right back where they left off. Now, UNLV from this aspect do lose they do lose their best offensive and defensive players. You lose Ricky White, to the NFL, and Jackson Woodard to the NFL. Like those are some big time pieces that, all of a sudden, they're not on the team anymore. I mean, Woodard was an absolute beast for this team defensively. Anyone that watched that go offense the past 2 years know what Ricky White meant. I mean, quite honestly, everyone was talking about Nick Nash, from an offensive standpoint at the wide receiver position. But I thought Ricky White was a guy that just simply wasn't getting enough love from a national perspective, because I think that guy, when he gets his opportunity right in the NFL, I think he's got a chance to flourish and shine and for an NFL roster on Sundays. So, look, the Rebels turnaround has been awesome. And, it's definitely a plus in Las Vegas here. When you got several shows in town, the fan base is definitely will rally behind it. Obviously, now Allegiant Stadium, it's one of these things. Like what sucks about UNLV, and it's just one of these like tough circumstances. Like in a sense, it's out of the players' control, but there's really no home field advantage in that Allegiant Stadium. You watch the games on TV. I haven't been to a Rebels game, out here yet, to really, fully experience that. But man, Allegiant Stadium, like when you're playing in an NFL stadium like that, it's with all due respect, you're still UNLV. It's not like you're Alabama or Georgia that can sell that thing out. So the UNLV Rebels, it's just, man, like if they actually played, man, if like they were back at Sam Boyd Stadium, like can you imagine that home crowd? Like it would be awesome. Now that's what stinks about this, and this is why I think you got to be playing it on your home campuses, because that's when you get your fan bases and your crowds out there. It's like the Miami Hurricanes. I mean, they're playing 30 minutes away at the Miami Gardens or the Miami Dolphins Arena stadium, rather, at the Hard Rock Stadium. So like there's no home field advantage in that area, for Miami and UNLV, and that in a sense does the players a disservice. Now, like I said, it's out of their control, but that just from that perspective of things, it just stinks. So, UNLV, they're picked second in the preseason polls. They got a lot of exciting players, but they're kind of one of these teams. I'm just very intrigued to see how they mesh, how the offense flows. Obviously, Jake Pope's going to be a big part of that. Alabama, Georgia, dude. I mean, SEC, like he wasn't getting too much playing time at those places, but you heard it there in the interview that Coach Mullen has been eyeballing him, since he coming out of high school, and he came in out of high school, sat in the pipeline, waited for his turn, and then it was finally time. He's a junior now, senior, he's an upperclassman, and it was one of those things like, hey, it's time to bolt. And that's one of the few good things about the portal, right? A 5-star guy or a highly recruited guy like that doesn't pan out, wants to go bolt somewhere else, and he wants to go to another program and really shine and get some more opportunities. Those are some of the positive signs of the portal where it could really work to the player's benefit in that sense. So we'll see. I'm very excited to see what Jake Pope does in his first year with the UNLV Running Rebels. D'Angelo Irvin Jr. He's a guy that is going to, be a guy that is going to get a whole lot more of snaps and receptions and receiving yards within this offense, and um, this is a guy, like, again, he's been waiting his turn, and in year 3 he's finally ready to go. So that is for a guy that's been waiting his turn. You just hope that he gets those opportunities. Um, Look, UNLV still has Jaden Thomas coming back. So that is definitely a plus on their end. They got Jaden Bradley, a wide receiver, and then Marcel McDuffie. I'd say those are their 3 big key returners. Bradley was big for them last year. Was kind of the second, third guy behind Ricky White, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Jaden Thomas was R1 for this group. Massive, for that go-go ground attack, that go-go offense with Brendan Marion. And Marcel McDuffie. I mean, that's a guy where I think he could potentially have the Jackson Woodard impact from what he had last year. As far as like Woodard, being that center fielder, tackler, the captain of the defense. I think McDuffie is going to be the guy that they expect him to do that. And, I think he's one of those guys that can live up to the task because, he's been able to shadow a great linebacker in Jackson Woodard. And now that he's just got to take that opportunity and run with it. So very intrigued from the Running Rebel side. And, they got the UCLA game. They got some other games on the schedule. They get Idaho State week 0. They had to move that game up due to some, just due some Allegiant Stadium conflict. Something about like a Raider game coming on at the same time, the same week that it was initially scheduled. I don't know. It was a whole mess. But UNLV is now playing week 0. Should have probably gotten the players' thoughts on that. But regardless, I mean, they'll probably fine with it. They'll be ready. It's, with all due respect, it's just the Idaho State Bengals. It's not like it's something that they need to, game plan for. Like the 3 weeks are going to kill them. In that area. So very, very excited to see UNLV. And man, Dan Mullen's back coaching. Like, that guy should have never gotten fired from Florida. A few years back. And I think Florida was just frustrated that he was losing the cocktail party game and some other SEC games, and sometimes the boosters get hot and they want to change, and then sometimes that change can ultimately backfire. And I don't want to say like the Billy Napier stuff hasn't worked out, but it really hasn't. It's a critical year for the Florida Gators because at one point Napier was on the hot seat, and then all of a sudden you got 3 coaches on the payroll. So, things could turn into a hot stove very quickly. And, I honestly thought Mullen was just doing a solid job with the Florida Gators to begin with. And, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, you see it. He was awesome on TV. I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow. Just to get his thoughts on the whole TV aspect of it. Was coaching, was coaching going to be one of those things that he returned from down the road? Was it like kind of always in the back of his mind? Yeah, I want to get back into it. Or was it just one of those things like the right opportunity with the UNLV Rebels came about and it just felt right? So I'm very interested to get the answer to that question tomorrow. And look, he's a good coach. He's had success at Mississippi State. He got his tenure cut short at Florida, even though I thought it necessarily shouldn't have. And in the new Mountain West, from a long-term aspect, I think it's going to pan out pretty well. Now it's just one of those things. Now you just don't hope the success turns into a promotion, because unfortunately, in a sense, that it could translate into that. Unless something happens where he just really likes the Vegas area and the money matches everything. But we got Utah State coming along for the ride. How we doing, guys? You guys ready for these guys? Yep, we're ready. Yep, we got the Utah State Aggies. coming into the booth. We got Bryson Barnes, Gabriel Iniguez Jr. Guys, we got the mic right here if you don't mind sharing that. Obviously, an exciting time for Utah State Aggie football. You guys got yourself a new head coach. Just what has Coach Bronco Mendenhall, brought to the table for you guys to get ready for 2025?
Yeah, I feel like he's really just kind of came in and he's flipped the culture completely. I mean, he has a reputation of doing that with schools and doing that with programs, and he came in and he saw the things that needed to be changed. He changed them right away, and I feel like we've made the steps that we need to be able to be trending in the right direction and hit the ground running come fall.
Yeah. Gabriel, defensively, Utah State, I know you guys want to improve overall as a unit compared to last year, but, same question to him that I just asked your QB, what has Coach Bronco done, to, really just change the script, change the culture on that side of the ball to really instill belief in you guys that you guys could do something special this year?
I mean, Coach Bronco used to be a defensive coach. He's back at BYU. He used to be the nose tackles position coach. So, I mean, I can just tell you a lot about him. He's a real gritty guy and wants us to play just like that. So on defense, he knows what we're supposed to be doing, but he lets Coach Howell take over and stuff. But, I mean, he knows what a good defense looks like, and he definitely helps and gives us tips here and there on how to accomplish that.
For you, Bryson, as you, the quarterback, you were really tearing it up in the back end of the year, rushing numbers and, the passing numbers were just off the charts. Was there something, within those last couple games that really clicked for you, offensively to really open things up, or was it just a matter of, just seeing the field well there?
Yeah, I feel like, obviously you're seeing the field well, and me and the other guy, we played very different styles of football, and so it kind of made it difficult for defenses you can't exactly carry the same game plan for both quarterbacks, and I feel like, I was able to succeed in other ways because of that, and I was able to maximize on those opportunities for sure.
Yeah, how tough was that situation last year? With Coach Anderson and all that stuff, and then you got that change, so quickly, abruptly in the season. Just how difficult is that, from your perspective in the room?
I mean, it was not ideal, obviously, but we had enough time to be able to transition the way we needed to prepare ourselves for fall camp. There was enough time for us to be able to see what we were offensively. We already kind of knew what we were going to do, and now it's just a different guy calling the play. So it wasn't a huge change, but I mean, it's never ideal when you lose your head coach.
Right. For you guys defensively, and I'm going to ask you this for the offense as well, but we'll lead off with the defense. One guy on the Aggie defense that maybe Mountain West fans don't know about just yet, but they will know by the time the season starts.
That's a good question. I feel like we had Brevin Hamlin. He definitely came in, and I'm looking at him like, what is he about to play? Tall, lengthy guy, and I mean, he's been turning it up at the safety position, ball hawk, and great tackler. So I feel like he's going to be a big name coming up in the season.
How about for you offensively for your
guys?
guys?
Offensively, hard to single out just one player. I'm going to have to say Brady Boyd, wideout.
Yeah. New impact piece. Heard some buzz about him. For you guys, playing in the altitude, you guys got San Jose State coming into town. I mean, that's just one of those games where, as a Mountain West fan, everybody should just have circled on the calendar, just based on two high-powered offenses. For you, you've been around this league for some time, and you've been checking out San Jose State from a bird's eye view. Just the challenges that they bring to the table and the excitement for that matchup overall.
Yeah, I know you kind of brought up the elevation piece. That is a problem. I mean, even when we went to Wyoming, we can kind of feel the elevation change. And so, elevation does definitely play a piece into that. But, you did bring up the two high-powered offenses. Both schools have a history of, slinging the ball around the yard, explosive plays. And it's going to be a fun game for sure. I believe it's on a Friday night. And so it's going to be a good one. We're excited for the guys to come down.
How has Kevin McGivern been in that room, former San Jose State offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach? Not his first rodeo in Logan, but, to be back and, to be coaching with him, I imagine you've been picking his brain a lot.
Yeah, no, I like to just, he's a wizard, man. That's the way I think about it. Is you really got to the more you pick his brain, the more you talk to him, the more you understand how his brain works and operates. And, he's had a history of a lot of success in the Mountain West, especially at the coordinator spot. And so, definitely excited to have him, calling the shots for us on Saturdays.
Gabriel, you guys defensively, and just your fan base as a whole, Maverick Stadium, that place can get lit. So, I know you guys, even when things are tough, your crowd's gonna rally behind you. I see what the basketball team and all the crazy
Yep.
sellouts that they have. That's, you could very much argue, the best student section in the entire league. When that place gets going, I mean, what's it like to play in that building?
I mean, definitely the herd is a big part of that. They come over there. I mean, lining up hours before the game, trying to get the best seat out there. I mean, I remember third downs, hyping the crowd up and stuff like that, trying to get them going, and they respond. And I mean, they're getting after those visiting team, talking trash to them too. So I mean, I really appreciate them, and the Mavericks always fun to playing.
Yeah, defensively, I feel like the most underappreciated guy, in the Mountain West, year in and year out, is a guy like Ike Larson. Never doesn't get his flowers, all too much. I think obviously you guys know he makes an impact, but when he's going out there and making plays in the fourth quarter, I mean, just his impact and what he brings, and I imagine he rallies the guys quite a bit.
Definitely. I mean, Ike's a playmaker, and when he makes a play, it's when it's needed. So definitely, I mean, he gets all the players going and stuff like that, and a good guy in the locker room, and helping us out a lot on when we need him.
One word to describe your head coach, Bronco Mendenhall. I know, kind of.
It's like father. Like, that's the only way to put it. It's like, for real, like the father of an entire team. He feels like your dad.
Honestly,
He really
I mean,
does.
teaching us lessons and all that, and making
Yes.
sure we're doing the right thing always, and I mean, caring about us, like truly caring about us and stuff like that. So, I'm going with that. Hey, father, like that's our guy.
Now, when a new coach comes like that, obviously, you guys probably, new regime, you guys probably have your questions. Okay, do I hit the portal? I mean, just what was it in that, that sense, like, man, like, was it like day one, like, okay, yeah, this is the guy, or, did it take some time? Were you kind of hesitating a little bit? I mean, just because, the college world now is, it's a wild one now.
Yeah.
So, was it kind of like, okay, the second he walked in the room, okay, yeah, this could be really something special.
I would say the kind of unique part with it was, and we were all off because we didn't make a bowl game, so everybody was home when this whole coaching staff change was happening. So he really wasn't able to address the team until January. And I know some dudes were still around in town. I was one of those guys that were still around in town. And when he got hired, I mean, at the end of the day, before you make the decision to get in the portal, you definitely got to have a talk with him.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I know there was a point that I was talking to my wife about, like, I don't know how this conversation is going to go. And it's like, in 2 weeks, I could be looking at moving schools, or I could still be here. And, so it was kind of like there's a lot of gray area leading into it. But once you had the conversation with him, everything went great. And it's always good to talk to Bronco.
Right on.
Yeah, for me, I just wanted to ask a lot of questions about like schematics and pick the coach's brain and stuff like that. And I mean, it took me I was one of those guys around when Coach Bronco came into Logan and fairly new, so I was like eager to jump at the bit to just get to know the guy. You know what I'm saying? So get to know the guy, and I mean, yeah. So I love this. So I'm still here.
Love it. Well, best of luck this season, guys. We'll definitely have the San Jose State game and Utah State game circled on the calendar. Friday night game at Maverick Stadium. Best of luck this season.
Right on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you have it, Utah State Aggies. Thank you very much for taking some time, man. Everybody's just, man. I'm telling you, you got. So we got Wyoming up on deck here in a few minutes, and then it'll wrap up our coverage for day one. But man, we've got like this afternoon session's really starting to kick everybody right now. Like, it's getting to the point, man. Like for these athletes, when you're flapping your gums for 5-6 hours, dealing with the heavy hitter questions, it's all like, man, what I need a trip to the Strip. Trip to the Las Vegas Strip at this point. So this is it's tough for the players. And I brought in some heavy hitters there on Bryson Barnes there, just because look, it was a very tough situation for Utah State last year. I mean, the fact that Blake Anderson, head coach, I mean, he has his issues off the field, right? And then all of a sudden he's not with the team anymore. Is he coming back? What's the deal? The administration had to make a decision on their end, and it's just one of those things. And they still ran the same offense. They still ran the Blake Anderson, fast-paced offense and all that stuff. The same scheme that won the Mountain West Championship years ago when he was year one out there in Logan, Utah. But man, that is definitely a tough situation, to deal with, no doubt. And man, kudos to those guys. Like we said, whenever there's a coaching change, it's one of those things. Like, you just gotta have a conversation, with the new head coach, because, it might be one of those things like, hey, new head coach comes in, hey, but I got 40 guys already in the portal ready to come join my team, right? Like, it's one of those things where every head coach handles it differently. It's definitely a tough situation to be under. So, from the head coach might have something that he's thinking about. He might have his mindset. The players are thinking their own thing. Who knows what NIL offers they're getting from other places. So I really respected the answers that Bryson Barnes and Gabriel Iniguez Jr. gave there, because they were like, look, we got to have ourselves a serious conversation here, as regards to new head coach. We got to sit down. We got to talk scheme. The buy-in aspect of it. Is this the right culture fit? And there all of those situations come into your ear, saying, okay, what's how is this going to benefit me? Because it's that ordeal now where in the college landscape where if they don't like the situation, all you have to do is hit the portal and you're gone. And sometimes the situation, you might find a better situation. Sometimes the grass ain't greener on the other side. And you've seen that with a lot of players. I mean, you've seen a lot of guys where they try to they have a big year at a group of five, right? A Mountain West school, like a Mountain West player hits the portal, they go hit a Big 12 team. The Big 12 team might throw a bunch of dollar signs at them, but you might only get 1 week, one game of meaningful playing time, just because the depth is so deep. So especially on those Power 5 rosters. So it's a very interesting dynamic now. With how things rock and roll. But Bronco Mendenhall, that is one hell of a head coach. I know, man, New Mexico fans kind of felt like they're not very happy that he left. I think that's the bottom line. They're not happy that he left, and especially that they go to Utah State. But he's a Utah guy. You heard Gabriel say that he was that was a guy that was doing the most in his playing career at BYU. He's from Utah. He's born in Utah. He coached at BYU. He's back at Utah State. So it's can you blame the guy? No, but like at the same time, you were there for 1 year in Albuquerque, so I totally understand why the fan base is there, especially the way the New Mexico Lobo football program has just been, the past half decade, where they've been swinging and missing on coaches. Yep, there's been swinging and missing on coaches, and all of a sudden you find the right guy, and all of a sudden he's bolting for a new job. So that ultimately stinks. But
Ready for us?
yeah. It is what it is, and that's the thing. That's the deal. You just got to reload and find a way find a way to find the next the next great guy. And that's just the way the business goes, is that the next great guy, you'll have him for a few years and then he'll ultimately dip. And Wyoming, the Cowboys, our final interviews of the day are going to be rolling in hot. How's it going, guys?
We're doing.
Good. Nick,
Oh,
nice to
Michael.
meet you. Nice to meet you.
Jack.
Nice to meet you. Got the Wyoming.
Gillenborg.
Mike's right here for you guys. We got the Wyoming Cowboys stepping up into the booth. Guys, I mean, not the year you guys envisioned last year, but the beauty of this thing is that you get to come back and, flush all that out the window. And 2025 is a fresh year, a big year for yourself last year. And I imagine you're taking some stepping stones within your game, and I imagine a leadership role as well here on the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, last year did not go how we wanted, but we've flushed that out. We've closed that book, and we're really excited about the team this year that we've got. A lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball. It should be a lot of fun. We're excited for camp to get everything rolling and refined, and it should be a fun year.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this football team. We got some really great guys coming back, and we brought in some new guys too that are they're really fun, really humble players, and they're fighting their tails off all spring, and it was really fun, and helped all of us bond together, and helped us overall get better at football. So yeah, I'm just excited to get into fall camp and get into the season.
Yeah, talk to me about that Cowboy tough culture, man. I mean, playing in Laramie, 7,000 feet above sea level. One of our personal favorite guys to talk to is your men's basketball head coach, Sundance Wicks. That guy's absolute character, so much energy, and he totally fits out there in Laramie. And I feel like he's talked about when in Laradice, as he calls it, you gotta. It takes a certain breed, to play Wyoming Cowboy football. So, just talk to me about the culture that you guys instill out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're built on Cowboy tough, and it's really just getting up every day, doing your job to the best of your ability, just putting a good day's work in. And it's a privilege, play at 7,000 feet elevation. It's not easy. Especially a guy my size, it's not fitting for 300-pound plus men. But no, it's awesome, and it feels like the whole town shuts down when it's game time, and everybody comes out to support, and it's really cool.
You've been a part of those crazy games, over the years where a big time powerhouse comes in, and all of a sudden the game's tied in the fourth quarter, or all of a sudden you're winning on special teams, blocked punts and, blocked extra points or whatever the case may be. And, you're out there doing that type of thing. Is that the combination of your crowd and, the way the culture is, or, the altitude, or is it just all that put together, or is it something else along with it?
I think it's everything put together. I mean, when we get in crucial situations, you could just, feel the crowd, getting amped up, cheering their butts off, when the defense is out there, trying to get a stop. And, it's just, the elevation, it's draining, it's draining for both teams. It's, it's really kind of like, who can, withstand it the most and who could be the strongest.
For you, John Michael, you playing the tight end position, you having a lot of, the load as far as, receptions, receiving yards last year. Now you got, you guys were, shuffling with the quarterback position. Now you guys got Caden Anderson for you guys leading the charge. Talk to me about the growth that he's had, because he had some big games last year, especially on the road. And so what's it been like working with him here more intensely here during the offseason?
Yeah, we're really excited about Caden. He's awesome. He's a great leader. He finished off the season really well last year for us, and he's really accepted the role as a leader of this team and quarterback. So throughout the spring and this summer, he's been working really, really hard. We got full confidence in him going into this year. We're really excited for fall camp so we can get out there and continue to get that timing down for us receivers, and continue to refine things with the O-line, and just continue to work with him at the helm. That's kind of what I keep thinking about, and how excited I am for camp. Just continue to work in that regard.
Jalen Sargent, how much better has he gotten? Wide receiver.
Jalen came in with us, class of 2021 out of high school, and we love the kid. He's awesome. Logan, Utah native, so every time we see Utah State, I know that fires him up lower. But he's so awesome. He works his butt off. He had to wait his turn a little bit as a youngster coming up, and now he's showing what he can do. And anything that he's asked to do, he does it to the best of his ability. It's really awesome to have a guy like that on our team.
You know, for you guys, 3 starters back on the offensive line. I mean, just how big is roster continuity? You know, not only for you guys, but just on the line of scrimmage. You know, meshing with those guys, making the quarterback as comfortable as possible, and but at the same time, leaving some room for your backfield as well.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, 5 guys go out there on the O line every play, but having 6, 7, or 8 guys is really what's going to make the difference on the offensive line. Having that depth, for guys that are able to come in and do their job the right way and be able to contribute to the team is so crucial. And we love blocking so that Caden can throw to guys like him and they can make plays, and all-star running backs can make plays. That's all we care about, is seeing our teammates' success, and it's we're excited to put that forth this year.
Border war. Last year is the Mountain West as we know it. Who knows when we get this matchup again? Extra bragging rights this year to whoever gets it, I imagine. Just the significance of the rivalry, and I guess just what it means for you. When you wear your uniform and that with that game and that team on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a storied rivalry, and we're so fortunate that we're able to play in it. We respect Colorado State. They're a great program, and every time we play them, it's a fight all the way to the end. And I hope in future years they can figure something out, to keep this rivalry going. But we're excited about this year, and it's going to be a fun one.
Sure. On offense, just maybe on offense, maybe on defense, you guys could take it whatever direction you want. Maybe what's one guy that shined during the offseason and in camp that maybe Mountain West fans don't necessarily know about just yet, but will know by the time middle of the season rolls around?
It's hard to tell because there's so many guys on this team that have made such big strides starting in January. And it's, that's kind of like the thing that we're most proud of, is that, this entire team is moving along, and it's a really special, group of guys. And, I've got to know a lot of them, even the new ones, it's been really cool. And, I'm just excited for the future.
Yeah, San Jose State comes into Laramie this year. You guys got a taste of them last year in San Jose. Now they come to your place in the altitude and your elements. The excitement for that one, for what should be a good game out there in the altitude.
Yeah, we're excited for that matchup, and really every game on our schedule. Just looking to go 1-0 every week. They got us last year in San Jose, so to get them back this year would be good for us, especially in front of our home crowd. We got a really good fan base. Really excited to play every game that we can in front of them.
One more for you guys on the way out. Evans Svoboda, tight end now. How's that transition been? How has he been meshing in that area? Former quarterback, now taking that position change.
Yeah, with how last year went, all of that couldn't happen to a better guy. I mean, he's handled it like an absolute pro, and moving over to tight end, he's been exactly that, a pro. He's a workhorse. He's working his butt off. He's doing everything he needs to do to learn to play the position. He's providing us so much perspective, having played quarterback and read defenses and things like that. So it's so nice to have him in our room and his leadership that he brings. Really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do this fall at tight end.
Well, we look forward to San Jose State versus Wyoming and watching you guys take the field. So best of luck throughout the season, and good luck out there.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. There you have it. The Wyoming Cowboys taking some time out of their day, the back end of their day. Looks like they got one more interview before they can skedaddle out of here. As in the Wyoming very interesting, from their aspect with the border war and the rivalry game. Wyoming versus Colorado State. It's evident they don't like each other. It's last year of the Mountain West as we know it, of course. Who knows when the direction of that rivalry, where it goes, and I'm very excited to see who wins that matchup. Where it goes, how the game evolves, and the fourth quarters. I have to say, Wyoming, that's a team that you root for. Year two of the Jay Sawville era, year one was a disaster. I mean, that was the bottom line. I mean, I think a lot of people had faith in Evan Svoboda as quarterback, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. And they found something, I feel like, in Caden Anderson in the back end of the year, where he might be able to really put the team together and win some football games. I'm honestly genuinely shocked that John Michael Gillenborg is not on the All Conference Mountain West list. That's pretty shocking for how vital and significant he was to the Wyoming offense. I mean, he was basically there. He was basically led them in every single receiving category, and he was a tight end. So, I'm shocked over that. It is what it is. He'll be probably playing with a chip on his shoulder, but those guys got a lot of belief in each other. I mean, Cowboy Tough is the real deal. Like that is a culture that they live and die on, and look, that won't be an easy game for San Jose State. 7,000 feet above sea level won't be an easy game for anyone. Like they beat Texas Tech 2 years ago. Like they've won like a crazy game versus App State on like a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Like Laradice is real. Crazy stuff happens there, and that's the crazy game we play, and that's the beauty of the Mountain West. You get the altitude, you get the rambunctious atmospheres, you get crappy weather in December. That's just the way things go, and it'll be a tough challenge for anyone that goes in there. And I mean, look, how bad was the season last year for them? I think they got blown out by like 5 touchdowns north of that. They lost by like 45 points in the season opener versus Arizona State. They lost to the Idaho Vandals last year, and there was just some games that they just shouldn't have lost, and they did. The offense really picked up at the back end of the year, but that's a team that they just they're looking for something to hang their hat on. Caden Anderson could be the real deal. I'm a big fan of John Michael Gillenborg. Jack Walsh on the offensive line has got that team going. The 3 starters back on the offensive line is huge for that team. And I think defensively, in Laramie, that they're gonna show up. That defense was on the field a lot because the offense was so putrid. If the offense can get some first downs, that defense gets a breather. I'm not gonna say like that they're going to win like a ton of games or anything, and they're going to be on the top of the league, but they're going to be competitive in some games. They might score an upset or two, and when the game's in Laramie, you got to buckle up and play your A game, because if you bring your C game out to Laramie, all of a sudden you're trailing by 2 touchdowns in the second half, and things aren't going great for you. And that's another team that could definitely play ball control, dominate, pound the rock. Do all the things there on the line of scrimmage to really take over a football game. So the Wyoming football season, I mean, look, first losing season since 2016. That's excluding COVID, but 3-9 overall, 2-5 in the Mountain West, tied for 10th in the Mountain West. So this is this is uncharted territories for that football program. Very excited to see them this upcoming season, as that is our final interview of the day. Thanks to everyone who came along for the ride throughout the day, throughout our morning session. A little spaced out during our afternoon session, but fatigue started settling in on the players, and they needed to take some extended breaks. We just appreciate their time, the fact that they get to sit down. We get asked the same question that they've been answering all day long. And look, this is these are some quality ball clubs and we get to talk to the head coaches tomorrow to see what the leaders of these squads are going to be up, what they're going to be doing, what they're up against. And and just see how much respect that they have for their players, their programs, the league, and we're very excited to talk to them tomorrow. So we'll have all 12 head coaches on tomorrow. We'll have Gloria Navarez, Mountain West commissioner, on as well. Thanks to all the student athletes that took the time out of their day to talk to us here at Mountain West Media Days, and thanks to Colby Dant from the College Experience and for him coming on. Great talking with him offline. We'll be definitely getting him back on the show to do some to give some thoughts on Mountain West and San Jose State, and whether it be football, basketball. Man, that guy's just an absolute character, a personality, one of a kind guy, and he's got so much knowledge on the game. And that guy, just a great guy that just loves the game, and got to give that guy a whole lot of respect because he's a guy that's definitely a hustler. He works his tail off, and to get him on the show to talk Spartan football and just the league as a whole, just a great guy that just all he wants to do is just talk college football. That guy can talk college football all day. He's 2 booths next to me, and he's still flapping his gums over there. So, thanks for him for coming on. Thanks again for San Jose State athletic director Jeff Konya, and yeah, we'll be back out here tomorrow around 8:30 time frame. It's going to be early tomorrow. We got the coaches, starting around the horn, and it's going to be going into the afternoon once again. So we'll have a plethora of interviews coming your way with the head coaches. A little bit more professional talk on that end, but looking forward to talking with everybody between Ken Niamatalolo and San Jose State, UNLV's Dan Mullen, and all the first year head coaches excited to get just a grasp on where they're at as they approach fall camp, we're rapidly approaching less than a month out, or a month and a half out from the season now, as we're live at Mountain West Media Days. So that will do it from us. Once again, I'm Nick Urias, signing off here from Circa Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow, folks. We'll see you then, live out straight from the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada.